All right. So let's talk about talent development. Like we have for this we have actually three steps in my opinion. First, talent the scout. Find the player that you think that's talented enough and motivated enough to do the step. Second, develop the talent. Coach him the right way so he can get better. And of course, the third and last step, coaching staff that they are getting ready to play against teams and maybe ready to for the psychological part of the whole process. So I want to ask you first, John, because you are the most experienced here in this discussion. What's your take on this? How effective do you think is talent scouting and developing players from solo queue?
I don't necessarily think we're doing it correctly at the moment. I mean, scouting talent is fairly easy. I think people just look to the challenger ladder, who their players have been playing against, who they've been struggling against in lanes, or those kinds of things. Like players all know each other. The high yellow community isn't that large, and it's very, very unlikely that there will be a diamond in the rough as such with a player maybe in gold or platinum yellow that is super good and competitive, but he's not so great in solo queue. I mean, that doesn't happen very often. I think we're beyond the point of finding people in that area. I think the system works itself out and the best players do get to the top. So yeah, I think in terms of finding the talent itself, I think it's very self-explanatory. In terms of development, though, and developing those players, that's obviously dependent on who they're working with. What players they're working with, how experienced they are, what coaching staff they have, or people that know how to bring out the best in them. Like you said yourself, Daniel, you got your top laner to go from a guy who's a ribbon top only to this guy who's now doing really well, playing a lot of champions that you wouldn't have put him on maybe a year ago. Like he probably would have laughed at you if you told him to pick Maokai. So I mean that's like what needs to happen with these guys when they get brought into these teams. They need to have people telling them, this is how it works. It's a lot different. Solo queue is solo queue. It's only about lane, and it's about who's lucky enough to have the jungler who ganks for them. Competitive's not so much on that same wavelength, but
hey man, look at TSM. Well, we could talk about junglers ganking for them.
Yeah. I think that's a whole different situation. I think that's that team's gravitating towards
something. It was just odd. I'm not gonna go into it, but it just didn't. It seemed like they didn't have any plan going into any of the games.
Yeah,
like
the drafts were really bad. The drafts were really bad, and then
what on earth happened there?
They just didn't have any plan when they went into the games. It was really strange. I think they went in with the mentality, that they didn't need to prepare anything for the group stage, and they would just make it to quarterfinals, and then they could prepare stuff.
Like the pressure allocation was disgusting. They didn't trade object nothing.
But they actually had the same. TSM had the same issue throughout the entirety of the LCS.
Yeah.
With Dyrus dying in the top lane because he had no support from the team. And they didn't get that much punished in the LCS because in North America they don't have these carry top laners like Huni, for example. Yeah. So you don't give free kills to Huni. What the fuck, are you crazy? Sorry for the language, but you must be crazy if you're doing that, okay? If you're feeding kills to Huni, or any other carry top laner, you're mad. You don't do that, because the moment you feed him kills, he's gonna win the game, by himself. And that's something that I think in their collective imagination was okay to do. Okay, just leave Dyrus on an island in the top lane. Yeah, he's gonna do okay in the end.
Yeah.
But against teams like Fnatic, for example, because that's where the EU NA discussion was, centered on. You can't do that. You can't do that against Fnatic, who's a very crazy team. They do all sorts of crazy stuff, and they like to engage on you over and over and over again. And the moment you're gonna feed their main players, it's all gonna be over for you. Look at how well they did against SKT, because they actually dragged SKT into the same style they played, except in game 5. Okay, we're not going to talk about game 5, but in the other 4 games, Fnatic was playing their game,
And
they were playing exactly how they were used to play, aggressive all over the map, forcing objectives, forcing skirmishes or team fights in positions where the enemy team didn't fare that good, and they would win.
You can even relate that to talent development and the fact that clearly there needs to be some Santorin. I don't want to say he's a terrible player. Okay, he clearly got the role for a reason. And that's a situation where talent development, I guess, is stunted and it's not growing. I don't understand how they aren't able to approach these situations because it's clearly a repeated problem. It's just a matter of teaching the players how to react in these situations and then allocating pressure to other places in the map, or like when you see them bounce the wave off the tower and it's going to monster wave back, you're going to get dived. Like, send your support up to roam, send your jungler up to roam. And that in itself, like just getting your players into the process or like the mindset of being able to do that every time, that's talent development in itself.
The thing is, to be honest, I think it's a 50-50 situation about talent development and general team strategy. So like the thing is about the SM, they want everything towards Bjergsen. They want Bjergsen fed. Bjergsen needs to carry. If someone else might carry the game, it might be Lost Boy, and everyone else is just like supportive there. When I watch the games, like I see everything going well for TSM if Bjergsen's like 2-0, 3-0 in lane. But if Bjergsen's like 0-0-0 in lane, doesn't even get a simple assist to start the snowballing, the team falls apart, like literally. And Bjergsen's like the only carrying that team, and everybody plays around him. So if you find that weakness, and Snowball, as an example, Fnatic did, the top lane, which is a place that will be easy accessible for them, Centaurian is not ganking there. I think there's also a huge part to the strategy overall for TSM that might.
Yeah, but I don't
reworked.
think you can blame Santorin for not ganking the top lane and for not helping the top lane. I wouldn't blame Santorin directly for not doing that because I truly believe that was a team decision.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't think it's his fault, and I don't think it's Dyrus' fault. It's
Dyrus
the entire
even almost
team's
turned
fault.
around a lot of those.
Yeah, I mean that's Dyrus is one of the best Western players. I mean he's
that's
a
why
very
he's still
solid.
Around.
Yeah, after all this time, he's the only one from the old guard to say so. In TSM, and he's a very strong player. I mean, but if you don't have the team, and don't tell me TSM, and all the analysts in TSM and Loco didn't see that as a problem. Okay, the fact that they're leaving Dyrus on an island.
I think
because
if
they didn't see that
by Bjergsen.
Yeah, if they didn't get punished, and maybe they got complacent, and the fact they won IEM, because everybody else just screwed up, and they got to play the best team they could play in the final. They got even more complacent. And they actually thought, oh yeah, well that's the way to do it, in the end, okay, and that's actually not the way to do it, and everybody could see that at MSI.
So
I'm glad for them they won against Besiktas,
Wow.
Actually,
then it would have been really worse than expected.
Yeah, then it would have been. Even worse,
it was good for the confidence, but also they got a kick in the ass. Sorry for the language, but they went. They got a lot of arrogance after the IEM win. And I mean, I think everybody was surprised that TSM didn't play against GA Tigers in the finals. And I mean, if GA Tigers performed that tournament, I wouldn't see TSM playing that good the rest of the split. Because they wouldn't have noticed maybe the mistakes and start working on them. And not letting them be, and hoping everything goes right, and Bjergsen can carry the games like he did before. And Well, I mean, there's also a thing I like to mention about that. As of course, the top lane talent in general in North America seems to be lacking a bit because, I mean, you could see Huni punish and Fnatic punish that mistake from TSM, but why aren't any other NA teams doing that? Like C9 had, in a sense, a good top laner, Boss.
Oh,
That's
CLG. I mean,
even CLG.
that's yeah, CLG. Why isn't CLG punishing TSM? Wasn't punishing TSM for that? Well, because they had a weaker jungler, to say so. I mean, I don't like saying that about Xmeti necessarily, but for example, if the synergy between Zion Spartan and Xmeti was the same as between Huni and Reignover, games would have been much easier.
Yeah.
For CLG when playing against TSM. And unfortunately for them, that's not the case. And obviously, all the problems that CLG had and still has, and I think they will still have for another season. Unless Hasha GG finally comes to his senses and starts doing something.
Oh, they've added new players to the
Yeah,
roster.
they have 8 players now, and that's
somebody
not going to do anything.
know why Stixxay is not listed? Because I think they mentioned that they were thinking about getting Stixxay to the main lineup as a
Don't know.
second AD carry.
I think
Double lift.
I don't know why, but
Double lift.
I think the main reason NA's like lacking talent is just in the fact that West Coast servers. You're splitting half of the population, and you're putting half of that population on like 100 ping plus. So if you look at all the players that are actually pulled out of the NA region, they were all already living in the West Coast. And you have like some of the most condensely populated areas in the US all along the East Coast. Just look at New York City, for example. And this is a huge pool of potential players that could be replacements for a lot of the players that are in the scene right now, or could potentially even have the ability to play at this level, and we'll just never know because they don't have a stable server or environment to display their abilities on.
Yeah, so why doesn't Korea have the same problem?
Korea's
Because
Koreans internet, I guess.
Their player pool, their player pool is even lower than North America.
I think that dives
Much
into
lower.
like
okay.
infrastructure for organizations, though.
No, that's the
infrastructure.
mentality.
No. I know the difference, and I have to say this was the best answer I read in a long time for the reason. And
Was it on Reddit?
It was not only on Reddit but also a lot on Twitter. It was the culture thing, which I think is the best answer possible because when you think about NA, you think about Bay life and streaming culture, and I need to be honest, I relate a lot of streaming culture to NA, but not to Korea or even China. And that's the thing. Like Korean players have the mindset, or I am number one, or I'm none. Like there is no number two, number three.
Well, it's just like
Dyrus
said, you're either the first or you're last.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly a cultural aspect to playing, a game, to support yourself. But this is gonna change in the end. Okay, people are going to be more lenient towards youngsters that want to pursue a career in esports, which currently they're not. Because I think, for example, in NA, if you're going to, if you want to play football, American football, everybody's going to agree with that. Everybody's going to congratulate you, and everybody is going to support you. And you have college, how are they called? They give you money so you can finish the college. No,
sponsorships. Or
sponsorships and all that. Yeah, it's that word.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay, well, just keep going.
It doesn't matter. Anyway, but that's the thing. When people hear that you're actually planning on playing video games for the professionally and just to win money from that, they're not going to
Scholarship.
treat you the same. Scholarship, yeah.
There we go.
And I think in NA things started to shift a bit. And I heard that, for example, there's one college where they give you scholarship for playing League of Legends, which is a very good idea for NA. And I actually don't think NA is lacking talent right now. I think that people don't recognize talent in NA.
That also may contribute to the infrastructure, yeah.
Yeah, and because there's when we talked earlier about what do you want in a player, you firstly want the motivation, okay? You want the will to improve, the that aspect that you can influence in the end. Okay, so the moment you find a player that really wants to improve himself, and one is willing to do everything in order to achieve greatness, it doesn't matter if he's rank 1 in Challenger.
Yeah, that's.
I think there's an obvious difference between a Challenger player and a Diamond player, But I think there's enough Challenger players in NA to have talent.
Okay, I have a very interesting question right here. I had this situation in the tryouts I did for the team I'm working with right now. We needed a top lane sub, and the coach came up with a friend of him that he knew from previous team that he worked with, and he said, like, this guy is talented, like he plays a very, very good Irelia, but nothing else. Like this guy has a good knowledge about the game and is definitely a bit ahead of his eel right now. Like the guy is Diamond 5, right? So okay, we need a sub, why not? We give him a chance to improve, and he will get something for his time, and we'll get to play and see how the others are doing. So, and the thing is, he did extremely well for a Diamond 5 player. I never expected him to at least go barely even with Master and Challenger players as they were playing with, and he did extremely well teleport games, which I never expected from Diamond 5 player, right? So I let him go into the team, to the second team, so we tried to work with him. Okay, as soon as the elo got higher, I saw one thing. He was laning extremely bad against the players. Like there was one game, he went Maokai into Vladimir and got outset so hard that he was like a minion the whole game that could only press W and Q. And what do you think about developing early talent players that show interest and some understanding of the game, like a Diamond 5 player in this case, into a very good player? Like, you can do that. It's only thing, is the time effort worth?
Yeah, but I think we're talking about two different types of coaching right here. Okay, so when we first started talking about coaching, it was the coaching a team aspect.
Yeah.
And that's something different from the personal coaching, that you're just talking right now. That's personal coaching. And obviously, when you're doing personal coaching, a thing that's happening actually in Korea, I think, they have personal coaches for positions. So, for example, when you're doing personal coaching with a top laner, you have to really know the top lane position. You have to really know the matchups, just so you can give him an insight on how he should play the lane matchups. Okay, and I can do that to a certain extent as a coach. For example, for my team. Okay, so I can look at scrims and I can see things they're doing wrong in lane, but I'm not that sure that I can see everything that's going wrong for him in a lane, because I cannot focus my attention solely on one lane. I have to focus my attention on the entire team and the way we the macro level of of the game. Wherein, if you want to coach a guy from Diamond 5 to Challenger, for example, and I think you can do that actually. There's this personal coaching, this micro aspect to the game, and you just have to give him small insights, and you have to do this way, and then he has to play a certain amount of games so he can get accustomed to doing the things, to doing things the right way, and so it takes time, okay? But I think most players, even diamond players, I don't think the mechanical skill gap is that big, actually, between them.
Yeah, mechanical definitely.
Most people think there's a big gap there, but I don't think there's a really big gap mechanically speaking. There's a gap in knowledge of the matchups
decision making.
Yeah, and decision making.
and the decision make in lane. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's the because I'm telling you, we had a mid laner who was awful mid laner in the laning phase. Oh, he was really good in team fights. That's the whole
the
thing.
same situation I had.
Yeah, that he in team fights, well, he would shine. He would get double kills, triple kills, quadra kills in team fights. But in the laning phase, things were absolutely god awful. And that's an area where for example, would have liked to have a personal coach for him, to just teach him how he should do things. And obviously, a thing he wasn't doing, and that's a reason for why we had to let him go and just get somebody else, was he wasn't putting in the effort. He wasn't putting in the solo queue games. And I told him, you have to have a certain number of solo queue games each week on these champions. And you have to focus on these certain aspects of your game during those games. And he wasn't doing that. So that's, again, we're talking about motivation. You have to put in the work. And it's a lot of work. Yeah. Okay, I'm not a fan of working 14 hours a day. But, if you want, you can do that.
That's the way esports work right now.
I don't think it's necessarily true. I mean,
it pertains to different people.
I think in the beginning, you have to work hard. Okay, so in the beginning, when you're when you're riding the ladder, you have to put in a lot of work, and you have to put in a lot of hours every day to improve yourself. So you're slowly rising from bronze, silver, and all until you're hitting challenger. But after you're hitting challenger, I think at that point in time, you already know the basics. You know most matchups. You know how they go, how you should play them, to win those matchups, or at least not get too far behind. And from that point, the whole thing should shift to team coaching. But yeah, that's.
So Dylan, I think you, as a Master Tier player, can give us a bit more insight about the playing itself, because I need to be honest here. I suck at playing the game. Like, I never reached diamonds. I had a diamond MMR because I dual queued with a diamond player, and I remember this one point as we dual queued, like when the gap started shining out. Like, I remember this one time we played around diamond 3 MMR, and for me as a high platinum player, this is a huge gap for me. Like, I never got crushed in the lane so hard before. Like, this was the moment, okay, I need to work a lot more on my positioning, and how do I go for poke, or how do I evaluate the poke for pot trading, and in general. I think you have a better overview than I do there. Would you like to say from the perspective as a player how this works?
What's the general question you want me to answer? I'm a little bit confused.
Like, we were talking about the gap between players and what is the focus on coaching and what you should try to develop in that player.
As far as developing for players and the gap, you really just have to focus on what the player's lacking, or like where their comforts aren't, and you kind of want to patch those over, depending on the player. And then for me, like when I did coaching for just small people, no big names, the best thing to do is you want to limit your losses and maximize on your gains. So like when somebody's specifically good at something, you obviously want to help them improve on this aspect as much as possible. And then the things they lack at, you want to help them to improve and just kind of patch those out. So it's not an obvious weakness, because once you have these weaknesses, it's really easy to abuse, especially in a competitive sense. So that's the best way to work around that. And as far as like player gaps and stuff, right now I haven't passed like Diamond 3 this season. I've been focusing a lot on analytics and trying to pursue like a strategical career or a positional career as far as an analyst or a coach. And I haven't been playing as a player because for me, I don't think I have the motivation to play as a player because I enjoy the game on a different level. So that's for me. And the gap, fixing that gap, it really just comes down to the player as well. It's like, if it's a motivation thing, if they don't have this motivation or this drive, fix over all their stuff, it's almost like homework. Like if you want to relate it back to school, one of the simplest ways to help players improve is just every single game. It's like, hey man, while you're in game, you should, whenever you get the chance, you should be taking mental notes or saying like, talking out loud to yourself, when you did something wrong, what you did wrong, why you did it wrong. And you constantly want to just keep pressuring these ideas and these things that you're doing wrong or doing right. And you just want to get yourself in these habits of trying to patch these out. So eventually you run into a situation where you'll start climbing up and you'll run into less and less problems because you're constantly micromanaging yourself and fixing your own problems productively while improving as a player. And this really helps like reduce the gap when working with people, and it helps them improve and understand that, yeah, you have a coach or something, but it also comes into like a player aspect. Like you need to be willing to also put in the work, because without you putting in the work, there's only so much the coach can do for you.
All right. Okay. Before we go to the next question, we're coming to an end from this podcast. I want to say thanks and goodbye to John. He had to leave because he has to work right now.
Bye, John.
Bye. And so we were talking about solo queue development, and if you had the choice, or if someone would give you the chance to coach a solo queue player from any elo you want to choose, and you want to make from this player a star, how would you do that?
I would take the best challenger player.
Lazy Daniel is lazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's not lazy. I mean, he already did the work, to get there. So it's.
You shall do the work. You shall develop him, man.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see myself as a personal coach. So it's harder for me to answer to this question, because I see myself more as a team coach. And that's the aspect that I focus on, and that's the aspect I like of the game. I like working with a team of players, and just trying to improve them as a team. Where just getting this solo queue guy and making him into the new faker. That's not something that I feel that I can do really good. And I don't have that much to say about this, unfortunately.
Tyler?
It's actually a really tough question, because I really feel like it plays into just what each individual coach, for example, brings their own set of cards, right? And they have this deck of cards, and they have all these different things that they can bring to a team, bring to a player, and their own mindset on how a game works. And this will vary between coaches, and generally all these coaches are trying to achieve the same goals, but everyone's gonna have a different outlook. And sometimes you'll run into coaches who have like similar outlooks on how to progress forward or how to improve players and produce success. But it's really hard, because the amount of different mentalities and all the different ideas and coaching strategies that people can present to a team. So like, as I see it, it really just comes down to, when organizations do these trial processes, they look at these coaches, they generally try to pick what they think will best work with their team environment. And then from that, you really get to figure out like, when all these coaches become famous, like you look at Dentist or you look at Aaron from EDG, like all these coaches, they have their own coaching style. And it's not because, hey, you know, I think this specific type works best. I think it's more of a, I'm comfortable doing this. I produce the most results doing this. This is where my area of expertise is. And now I'm going to pursue this and try to help my players adapt to this, or see like from my perspective and help them understand my perspective. And then with that, sometimes you get coaches that may
Yeah, but
wanna
I
work
think
with the
you
players
must have a
individually.
certain degree of flexibility. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't come into a team, you know, and just saying,
Oh,
hey,
of
look,
course.
I'm this guy and I have
Yeah.
this idea and this idea is perfect. So
Of course.
all of you have to listen to me and do things exactly the way, you know, I tell you to do. Obviously, I mean, there's a certain flexibility you must
You're
have
gonna
as a
have
coach.
to work with the players
Yeah,
to
yeah.
produce the results that, I don't know, work best for them.
Yeah, but
Because
I totally
everyone's
agree
different.
with you.
Yeah.
Every coach has his own style.
Mhm.
No, because obviously you come in to the team with a philosophy on of the game, you know, and you're trying to implement actually your own thing, okay,
Yep.
your own view of how you can win games as a team. And the hardest part is just to you know, get your players to understand your philosophy, you know, towards the game. And you know, sometimes you can do that, other times unfortunately you can't, you know, for
Yeah, and
various reasons.
I would even argue that that may not even be the hardest part, but a part even harder than that is adapting and flexing, you know, your ideas to be able to fit with the players, because all
Yeah, but I
players
think
are
it's
going to have
easier.
also a different
I think
mindset, right?
It's easier for the coach to do that. You know, I mean,
I mean,
obviously,
but-
you know, it's the number game, the numbers. I mean, you have 5 players. It's easier, you know, for you as one individual
Yeah.
to be more flexible than, you know, expect that from 5 others.
Of course. And then that's also
There's a certain degree of flexibility. That's why I said it's not the coach that has to mold to the team, and it's not necessarily the team that has to mold to the coach.
it
Okay,
needs
so
to be a
there's
group effort.
there's you know, it's more on the team molding onto the coach's ideas, but also the coach has to do a certain degree of molding, you know.
Yeah, like if a player just isn't getting it, like I could use double lift and Monte Cristo
Yeah.
again for an example, then it's disregarding any like problems between players or anything. I'm just using them as an example. Then the coach needs to try to figure out a way how he can get his idea across to the player in the best possible way for him to understand it, you know?
No, but there might come a time, you know, again talking about CLG and double lift, and the moment you see the way double lift performs, you just have to reevaluate your whole strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just have to reevaluate the whole thing and just say, okay, so I can't make this guy follow my my way, you know, doing things the way I
approach
want
it
them to. So I have to have a different approach.
Yeah.
As in, you know, molding the rest of the team, you know, to play around this guy, okay, and just try to make it as best as I can. And that's another problem that, you know, existed in CLG. I mean, you had this idea from CLG for a long time. You know, it was the protect the AD carry, protect the double lift team comp, which stopped all of a sudden. You know, or sort of stopped. You know, sometimes they were playing like they were trying to protect the AD carry, but they weren't doing that actually. You know, and there was this whole thing, and double lift always mispositioning and all that, and not having a team around him that can you know, play around his mistakes, his positional mistakes. You know, somebody that can protect him. That's not the support. Okay. And unfortunately, I don't think they will get there in the end.
What
Not
I
even
would have
this split.
what I would have loved to have seen is CLG try to understand and implement the Juggernaut composition. I feel like double lift, get mispositioning all the time, or just being in the front line. Now, it's hard to say like, oh yeah, Juggernaut composition works because your AD carry can front line this, that, and the other. But I feel like double lift, yeah, it's not. That's not how it works.
No.
But I feel like double lift has the mechanical capabilities to be able to perform the job needed, and I feel like Link pulling him off an assassin, putting him on a more utility based, farm heavy harasser where he's safe in lane would have benefited more. Sion on a solid tank like Maokai with the damage reduction, like the synergy within the team, and then having a safe jungler on top of that, like pulling X Smithy out of these carry junglers where he just flopped in most of these games, even throughout the LCS split.
The Sejuani
Carry
ults.
junglers like Sejuani.
Yeah.
Sejuani isn't
Well, even
really a
when-
carry jungler. Let's be honest.
That I'm not even talking about that. I mean, like when he played his Vi games or Rek'Sai games, like his tunnel pathing was, or his tunnel placement within the jungle was terrible. He was never able to pull off counter ganks. He never got off early aggression. You look at his Vi games, he never was able to utilize it. Oh, look, he can press R. Yeah, well, a lot of people can,
Yay.
man. Like,
My
I mean,
Arsenal
apparently
broken.
he couldn't on Sejuani, but that's a different
No,
story.
but I mean, it's obvious. I don't know. They had Skara, as a coach this last split, and there's a certain discussion, about how close should the coach be to the players, and I think Skara, and I like Skara. I think most people do, because he's a likable guy.
It's lovely.
Yeah, but he's too close. He's too involved, as personally involved in the lives of the players, and they actually didn't need that. They didn't need a 6-team member, and I feel that Skara was exactly that. And unfortunately for them, Monte Cristo had this OGN thing he does, and couldn't be there for them. Yeah. But also, the other guys, the staff, the Hotshot GG, and there's another guy I know.
Kelby.
Yeah.
But he doesn't really work with them officially anymore.
Yeah, well.
No, not really. Oh, okay.
Well,
yeah, but anyway, he was there.
Transferred to a
at the
different-
time.
Well, he was working.
He was there.
He was working with CLG at the time Monte Cristo coached. Still, he left. I think he left this season or even end of season 4.
Yeah, it was end of season 4, I believe.
So he should have done anything. He could have done anything, and I think the whole CLG discussion ends up being all around bad management and bad team environment that they have had, and even Skara being that lovely guy, and maybe his coaching style simply didn't fit the team.
No, they needed somebody with a strong arm. I mean, you have to strong
somebody
arm
to bring the players in.
That's the whole thing, and I don't think Skara is the right guy to do that. He could be a perfect coach. He could be a perfect coach, for example, in getting a challenger team, with younger guys, much younger than he is, and coaching them. I think he would be perfect there. And thinking about Skara like 5 years from now, he could be a great coach.
He will.
Okay.
Probably.
Yeah, if he wants to, and if he puts enough effort into it, he will be, a great coach. But for CLG last split, I don't think he was the best idea.
No.
I'm very I would like to see exactly who the new coach of CLG is right now and how he will perform.
I would even like to see Skara work with LCS teams, but LCS teams that are stable, or just willing to work.
As an example,
just
C9?
willing to work. Yeah, I think Skara to C9 could possibly be just maybe as an assistant analyst or something like that. But it's just I feel like I agree with what you're saying, Daniel. Skara was not the best fit for CLG. That was the totally wrong opposite direction they should have gone with the problem.
Yeah.
And there's another team that's doing right now exactly the same thing, and the team's name is Elements.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they put Nif as the head coach. I mean, he probably had a contract with Elements.
Yeah.
And they still need to give him the money, and they said, okay, so if we still need to give him the money, let's just make him head coach.
Well, but the question is,
I mean, you put Nif as a head coach. Why? I mean, he's not a vocal guy, and I think as a coach you need to be.
Yeah,
you need to be the guy that can impose He knows his philosophy in front of the other players. I don't think the rest of Elements kind of respects Nif as a coach. They may respect him as a player, but I don't think they respect him as a coach. So I think
the
they're
question
kind of
here is, why did he sign a new contract for the next split with them, which I don't get that much, because when I heard the news, first of all,
Esports money, baby.
yeah,
Yeah. That's the whole
to,
thing.
to be honest, because Nif, I don't, as you already mentioned, I think Nif is the wrong person for the job. He will be the Scara just for the Elements, and they need someone that can be vocal for sure. Not only that team, but probably the most teams. And the thing about Nif resigning is showing, or they didn't find a viable option, or he did something right. And the question here is, we don't
Did he?
know. Huh?
What?
I mean, the
what
only
did-
thing I could think of is maybe he was vocal in pick and ban, and that's why they decided to move him
I
into
don't
a
think
coaching
so.
position.
To be honest,
I've
Well,
never
I
seen
don't
him.
know. I'm just
I've
trying
never
to,
seen him do that.
he did.
Yeah,
Okay,
well,
because
I don't
there's-
know
he
either.
did.
I'm just trying
What-
to
was he
think of
vocal?
why they would have put him in the position.
How vocal he was, nobody can say, but he was there. He was standing right behind the players with his notes, and he was at the
Yeah,
command
like
fence.
every other coach. Let me walk back and
Yeah.
forth in my notepad.
Well, he did a great handshake. We should mention that he did.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna hire a coach for the handshake, well, that's cool. Okay. Don't respect results.
I'm just
from that.
afraid that's where it's going. Like, I feel I'm afraid the workload of a coach is going to be pressured onto analysts, because that's basically what a lot of coaches are doing. And with the introduction of teams taking up analysts, I feel like that workload is going to be going onto the analyst, and coaches are going to end up becoming more of a PR figure and like a public face, and just
bad.
generally centric around the pick and ban phase.
No, yeah.
Not
I
even that.
don't want it to go
Most-
that way.
Most
but I'm
teams do.
afraid it will.
The players do the pick and ban in the West.
Yeah.
I'm talking.
Many
Which
teams
again, I
do.
think is bad, because
Well,
the players
it's-
shouldn't be the one doing the pick and ban.
I mean, if you read the AMA from Daler, someone asked who has the last word when it comes to pick and bans. He said, always me. And that's the way it should work. And you see,
Yeah.
Fnatic is having the success. They are playing well, they are working, the strategies have been working so far.
That's what I'm
also a
saying.
very-
It's the way the organization is put up together around the coach and the team and all that. And if you have the right attitude and the right way of doing things, yeah, if you give the coach enough power, yeah, he has the power. He also has the responsibility.
Yeah, sure.
But
He used to be an
if things
ex-poker
go
player,
wrong,
too.
at least you can say, okay, things went wrong, and it was my fault because I had the power. I had, the power to do the things another way, and I didn't. And instead, you end up in Leviathan's shoes, where you don't have that much power inside the team, or Monte Cristo's shoes. Actually, it's a better example. When you don't have that much power, nobody's enforcing your ideas in the team. The team fails, and you still get, all the backlash.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's get to the last question of this podcast, because we are already talking for a long time. And,
yeah, we've gone off course
and
a
has
lot.
been enjoyable to talk with you guys. But now I want to talk about just shout out some few thoughts on the new upcoming qualified teams for the Challenger Series. So I think they start next week or in 2 weeks or something like that. And I sent you the link with the teams. And I think at least in NA, there's a team worth talking about, and that's Team Misfits.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's this whole
And-
thing about misfits.
And I mean, okay, maybe we should sum that up into the coaching and talent development aspect, because I think that if we want to start talking about the organization and the team and management itself, it would take too long. But if we sum that up, because we were talking like at least 2 hours only about coaching and talent development. This team is like the mix of talent and two of the most known players in the scene. Like, they have Crumbs in the jungle and Alexic in the mid lane. I don't even know who is the new main AD carry. I think is it Stixay?
Well, said Jibus was the AD carry. So...
Jibos is going.
Yeah, they may have
play?
changed it. I don't know. I mean, they have Stixay as the sub for the
Okay.
team.
Okay, so
But who
main
knows?
carry will be Jebus. Is Yuno the support, or Remida called? I don't know how the name is now. And who will be the top laner?
RF Legendary.
He will stick as a top laner?
He's somebody I want to touch on.
Yeah.
Alright,
RF
let's go.
Legendary. Okay, so I used to follow RF Legendary as a fanboy, basically. I used to play a lot in Italy top when I first started playing. And I was actually introduced to top lane from Crumbs. So both of the two like people that inspired me to start playing are on this team. So that's like a huge deal for me.
Fanboy.
Yeah, fanboy out. But I'm actually really concerned about RF because even when he used to stream a lot, I mean, he does now and he seems to have fixed up his problems, but he's a very emotional person and he tilts like really hard. And there was points where like he couldn't even deal with Twitch chat. He would shut off his stream. He would just call it quits. And he's like a really awesome guy, but he's really emotional. And I feel like that in itself is a weakness to the team. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm just saying like they might need a support psychologist if that's still a problem, and they need to work around his emotional aspect and attachment to the game, because like 2 bad games and he'll start tilting really hard and he'll get into this bad mentality. I haven't been watching him a lot recently, but that's what I specifically remember about his character. And that could even be, I remember reading some article. I didn't like read through it. I just saw it skip through on the headline on Twitter that Misfits tried to pick up Quas while they were still in the Challenger Series. And that could actually roll back to the problem of RF Legendary maybe having these emotional attachments to the game. You know, maybe they wanted a more stable mindset type of player like Quas, who's put out amazing numbers in the top lane throughout his entire career now in the LCS.
Well, that's the reason they wanted to get Quas. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing, I think you are bringing up.
It's not like I'm working for Team Liquid or something. So.
No, are you doing that? Aren't you? That
man.
must be a lie.
No, it's not actually.
Oh, damn.
Okay.
Okay.
What were you gonna say?
I mean, if you look at what we talked like for the last 2 hours, we come actually to the conclusion that it would be the staff job to take care of those players. I mean, he can perform, and we can help actually, like with the sports psychologist. And but in this scenario, like RF Legendary is not something new to the scene. He has been playing League for ages. Like,
Yep.
Yeah.
Isn't
Well, it seems like ages.
isn't he? Yeah, well, in esports years, ages.
Yeah,
Let's
ages.
translate that
Esports
way.
years. It's like dog years.
Senior citizen of esports.
Yeah.
Or
So-
okay, not esports, League of Legends.
So how old are you?
Yeah.
I play since season 2,
Well,
right?
I've played since season 2, so I'm like 50
I'm old.
in League of Legends years.
I'm old. I'm one of the old guard, right?
Yeah.
So what I want to say is like, is that someone that you still want to develop, or that you still can develop, as well as maybe, let's say, a known newer player like Stixay, and would be a option for this, like that you could develop. He's new to the scene, he doesn't have too much experience, and you are getting him fresh from solo queue.
I mean, it doesn't being fresh, being new to the scene doesn't mean you're not an emotional person. Okay, so that's not necessarily an indicator for you not being emotional. So if RF Legendary is emotional, he gets emotional. I think if they have the right support staff for him, he could.
That's not what I wanted to say, but I played a lot of music since when I grew up, and there was this thing when I started learning bass. If you start learning the wrong way, at some point in time you have to relearn it.
Yeah.
And it's even harder. So that's what I meant in this case. Like, would it be worth, or would be the time, effort, and would be there enough time to develop such player to relearn and rebuild his mindset towards the game?
I think you're just solid skinning the player basically at that point. Like, it just comes down to having tough skin. Like, this is a tough industry. You're put under a lot of pressure, and if you don't have tough skin, you're not going to make it. So you either adapt into it, like Daniel said, adapt or die. Like, that's it. If you don't manage to make it past that, that's a huge weakness. Teams abuse it. They'll just start camping you. They'll tilt you. Then look, if you ever get into a best of 5 series, that's going to be a train wreck.
Oh yeah,
It's a serious problem. But I think he has the ability to come past that. I think Misfits are going to be able to provide the support staff needed to develop it. I think it's totally worth it. And beyond that, I think even having a player like Crumbs, him in himself is, I don't know if you ever heard the guy talk, but come on, like how can you tilt in a team when you got this guy with the soothing voice? Like, look, he was able to hold Dignitas
it's like a siren,
together.
you know.
Yeah, he was able to hold Dignitas together through all their chaos. Like, come on, guys.
Yeah, another thing about tilting is more an issue for when you're playing a carry role in the team.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're putting RF Legendary to be the carry for the team, and that's a big problem, you know, him tilting. But if you're making him play, you know, like this meta is the tanky top lane champions, you know, he just has to perform, you know, in the laning phase to stay at least equal to the other guy, and I think he can do that actually. And if they can have, you know, it's about trust. It's about how much trust can you put in your teammates to carry the game for you. Okay, doesn't mean you don't have to do anything. Okay, you're not sitting back and just relaxing under the sun with the tequila or anything else. You still have to put some work, but you have to trust your teammates to make the big plays. Okay, to be the ones that, you know, win the game for you in a manner of speaking. And I think he, you know, playing with Crumbs and Alex H, I mean, who doesn't want to do that, you know, as a professional players? You know, everybody knows that. Everybody knows Crumbs. Everybody knows Alex H. And Crumbs, I think, is one of the best support type junglers in NA. Definitely. He still was by the time when he retired from Dignitas.
Yeah,
he's more similar to Cyanide.
Yeah,
for example. You know, Cyanide wasn't the best jungler in Europe by any means.
But he could smite.
But yeah, he could smite. You know, that's a good skill to have as a jungler.
He did the job he needed to do. Like Crumbs.
Yeah, and he was helping Soas. He was helping Xpeke, and you know that's what the team needed, and he did that perfectly.
And to be honest, if you think about Cyanide, it's worth bringing up that when it was season 3 at the games against Royal Club, he stepped up like from a support jungler to a carry jungler, just like games in a row. Like he just played out of his mind when the team needed him. Like that's the thing also about Crumbs. But he might not have done this in the game, but outside of the game, he stepped up when the team needed.
And
you know, I'm gonna take this discussion from, you know, I'm gonna go from you know, an analogy to another esport like CS:GO.
Oh yeah.
So there's a team in CS:GO. It's called Fnatic. It's like the best team in the world, you know. And I think even historically speaking, the best team in the world.
Definitely.
And they have these players, you know. They may have, for example, Olfmeister, who's probably the best player in the world right now. Not necessarily Opera, but you know, as a player. But if you look at them and you see at this, you know, in this game, Olofmeister was the one that was carrying the team, but in the next game it may be JW that does that, and the next game it may be Creams, and the next game Flasha, and so on. I mean, there's a certain way of doing things inside the team that if you're not at your best level, you can still rely on your teammates, you know, or somebody else in the team, you know, showing up and carrying the team and winning the games. You know, and I think there's a certain way that in Misfits, I don't know anything about how the organization is set up, but I think they could do that. I mean, they have Alex H, who's a guy that can deliver, and we know that. We have Crumbs that even if he's a more of a support type jungler, he can have games where he carries things.
His
I
visioning
think RF
control is amazing.
RF Legendary, I watched games, when he was streaming and all that, and I think he does have that potential to carry games.
Yep.
And I don't know much about the AD carry, for example, but
I feel like he brings.
could be the same kind of guy, that just delivers.
Yeah.
I feel like
Not
RF
all the
Legendary, he brings this Zion-esque, like Zion Spartan type of aspect to the team. Like back when Zion was on Coast, like there is a chance that this guy can go off and solo carry the game. If it's gonna happen or if it won't, we'll have to see. But I feel like Misfits is looking like an extremely promising team from that reason.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't think there's. I mean, in the summer
Compared to the rest of the talent.
In the spring split, there was only one team that I was sure was going to get into the LCS, and that was Origin. I mean, I had absolutely no doubt that Origin was going to make it to the LCS.
True.
Same.
That was. I mean, it was so obvious. I don't think Misfits is in the same category, or Wicked's team. I mean, they're not there. They're not at the same level.
Okay, I have an analogy for this. Like, you brought up that CS:GO analogy, and I don't even need to change the game to bring a good analogy. And the thing about Origin is that they exchanged a support player like Cyanide from Fnatic with another support player, but this time from TSM, and that's why the team worked so well. And
yeah, sort of.
Wait. I watched too much EU LCS to be able to tell that Amazing was a flashy player when he started playing for Command Wolves. He carried so hard. I mean, there was games like everybody.
He was amazing.
He was amazing. Thanks for bringing that back.
Yeah, Freak is just behind me, and he's to say it.
I already noticed that when we chat. That was crucial. But well, what I would say, he changed in a season where he played for TSM his complete whole style, and he was doing well at TSM. You can say he was doing
the job.
He was doing the job. Like he did what he needs, and I think that's the thing why he worked so well in Origin. And the thing is, you have already two solo carries like Expect and Soaz. They can go ham anytime. You give them the champion, you say what they have to do, and they will do the best on it. And they have the potential to carry on each champion, each role. They can even swap lanes. We already seen that in the past.
Yeah.
And
double TP.
Yeah, double TP.
Double TP, man.
Yeah, and I think that's why they are a step ahead, Misfits and maybe Wicked's team right now, because they have the two players that are core to anything. You can do anything around them, and they will do well. I mean,
I'm not so sure about Wicked's team.
No, I was saying that that's the difference from Origin to the two others.
Yeah.
And the thing about Misfits right now, they are still looking for talent, and they are still also looking for NA talent. That's maybe the thing, where the pool of players maybe not be that much players that they can rely on. Okay, we have this type of guy, we need this type of guy, and we can find the type of guy in this region. That's maybe the reason why
the thing is,
they want to get Chivos.
You may think that in Europe it's easier, just because Europe has a bigger talent pool. But you also have to take into account that Europe is not just a country.
Yeah, that's true.
Europe is a lot of countries put together.
You run into language barriers.
There's the language barrier. There's the cultural aspect. To each individual. I mean, it's not that easy. It may sound, you have a lot of players, so you can choose. You can you can go ham on that and just pick the best player for each role. That's not necessarily true. Because
I'm not saying that's
there's
true.
there's other aspects that come into play, and I think for Origin, they had Expeke and Soaz that they worked together in Fnatic before, so they already knew each other. And they had Amazing, who was kind of looking for a team, and I think he liked this gamble thing, going to Origin. They were not even challenger by the time. They weren't in the challenger series by the time he got into the team. And they just Mithy was he was banned by Riot.
Yeah.
So you toxic and all that.
Oh, it's
That-
so
that-
true.
They have
That-
this
that
new
happens to be a
talent,
lot
Niels.
here.
Yeah, I mean,
Niels
it's-
needs to be abusing
Yeah.
what he has. The
Yeah.
tools of utilization. There's 4 seasoned veterans with all this experience. Niels literally has all this knowledge that he can gain at his fingertips. Like his growth, like the amount of growth he can have in a short period of time outweighs a lot of these
Yeah.
other players. Like
The
he
only
has
problem-
a huge advantage to take right now.
The only problem I think Origin has right now is how coachable are Soaz and Expeke.
And to be honest, I think they are, because
I have
maybe
doubts.
maybe Soas harder than expected because he is a very proud player. He's very dick-headed when it comes. I do my stuff and I keep to that, and
Yeah.
because I trust my stuff even more than anything else. But I think Peck is a very humble guy in this kind of sense.
Yeah, I should think the same thing about Peke, and I think he's a very smart individual. Not just as a player. He's a smart guy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Overall, and he is humble. I would compare him, in terms of real sports. Again, air quotes. To Messi, for example. He's a very skilled individual, but he still has that humble side to him. He's not bragging like some other
He
people are
just
doing.
got that Red Bull athlete
Yeah.
contract.
Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
he's still humble, I mean, he
Yeah,
doesn't
of
brag
course.
about it and all that. I mean, he's also the owner of the team, which
Exactly.
is also an aspect
that's
that
the
has
thing
to be taken into account.
Yeah, that might hold him back at some point in time.
It depends.
I-
It depends because if he sees his being the owner as an opportunity for him to advance, in the future to be the owner of a great team, to Origin. Let's say
He'll
he
put
wants to make
himself out.
Origin the new Fnatic. Because when you think Fnatic, you think one of the best players in every esport.
It doesn't
No,
matter
they
if
have
you
in
think
League
of
of Legends, CS:GO, Battlefield,
Yeah.
yeah.
Heroes of the Storm, Hearthstone.
But you always think about
organizational
when you think about
structure's weird.
Fnatic, you think automatically about Soas and Peke at some point in time.
First about you think of first about Peke,
Yeah, no, it's like.
and then you think Yellow Star, and that's the way. I feel.
And I need to be honest, because the reason I got into
Yeah.
League of Legends and esports in the first place was because a friend of mine sent me a VOD of I Am Guangzhou, where Fnatic played Team WE. That was the first game I watched League of Legends, and that got me into the game. Like, I can remember, like, the first time that I got was suddenly expected because he was doing that flashy plays with TF, right? So, I think the thing we should mention about here is, like, will the stress be too much, as it was at some point in time for Reginald and even Hotshot GG? I mean,
Yeah,
Reginald.
well, I mean, it depends. It depends because even if you're the owner and you're a player in the team, you don't have to do all the work that is related to ownership of the team because you have a manager, and I know they have a manager. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's somebody that can deal with everything. That's not strictly directed to you as the owner. And the only thing is, I think he's smart enough to get a coach, and I know they got a coach.
Ducky.
And he's smart enough to listen to the coach.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not as sure as I am expecting. I'm not as sure from when it comes to Soaz, because we were talking about RF Legendary being emotional.
But
Yeah, well, I
Soas
mean,
is as
you
well.
can talk about Soaz being emotional, and Soaz is emotional, and everybody knows that. He may not be tilting the way RF Legendary is when he's being emotional, but he's still being emotional, and him being that way affects the team. And back in the Fnatic days when they have Pushu in the bot lane, for example, or Yellow Star when he was AD carry, he wasn't that great as an AD carry. He was good, but not that good. I mean, you only had like 2 threats in the team. You had Expeke and Soaz.
Yeah.
Right now, I think it's easier for him because he's a threat, Expeke is a threat, and there's also Niels.
Yeah,
You
Niels
know,
is
he's a
talented
very
guy.
talented AD carry. Most people say he's probably one of the best AD carries in the West.
Yeah, he will show.
He does have a large champion pool, so I don't think you'll get into the same issues that Forgiven had, for example. I think Mitty is a very good support, especially for Neos. They mesh very well together. I watch a lot of games from Origin, and yeah, they're good together. I mean,
have
you can
a
see
lot
there's a lot of synergy between the two of them.
I have a lot of high hopes for Origin. I recently had the pleasure of talking and doing a little side work with Origin in an application process, and I had the pleasure of talking to Ducky and their analyst Hermit. And from as I see it, this team is going to be able to progress fairly well forward.
And the thing is, there is where the experience comes from Xpec and SOAS. Like they have been working for years with Fnatic, and I think everybody can agree here that Fnatic's definitely the best org in Europe right now. Like they have a structure that we can rarely see in the West right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think from an organizational standpoint, Fnatic is definitely the best. You know, the most organized out of every other organization. I mean,
it's a model to look up to. For others.
And I mean, look at this. You had the season 1 winners as your team. They struggled season 2. Like you couldn't see a team coming out.
Well, they struggled for some part.
Let me finish. And then they found that one talented guy in Sweden, Reckless. The team was a completely new team, and they somehow worked from that. And from there, they dominated Europe for whole season 3. They dominated season 4 spring, and then suddenly Elements came around and kicked a bit ass. The whole team disbanded, and there was only this guy left, like Yellowstar. And somehow they managed to find talent. Like, I mean, if you would ask any Korean player, nobody would had recommended you Rain over. He had such a bad reputation
for that matter.
He was the one that approached to Rain over because he wanted Rain over.
Fnatic scouts are clearly top notch because look at all the games that they hold top.
I don't think we need to overhype the Fnatic scouts. I mean, it's not like they have these godlike scouts, you know, that they're just roaming the earth and looking for new players. And suddenly they see Puni.
But I want to hype, man. I'm a Fnatic fan.
No, yeah. I'm okay. I'm a Fnatic fan too. Okay, but I mean, there's a certain point when we don't need to hype the whole thing. You know,
but it's fun.
They're good. They're good. Obviously, they had this great scouting. I don't know how much of it was pure luck, to be honest. Because there's some luck involved there. But
always,
of course.
One of the guys they scouted was Febiven. I mean, really, how hard is to scout Febiven?
And if you want to scout any mid laners in Europe, you can have a lot of talents if you want to.
No, I mean, you know, they're the guys that just won the EU Challenger Series, you know, and everybody knows Febiven's a god in the mid lane. No, and you have to do scouting to get Febiven. No, I mean, you don't have to be a god scout to see that.
Also, it's like, look at like all the top teams that made it through last split for EU, for example. Practically all new teams, like full new rosters, new players.
Top three.
I mean, it kind of says something about the region as far as like team structure, player mentality, stuff like that.
Most of Fnatic's success came down to having 4 other players except Yellowstar, which are rookies and highly motivated to succeed.
I mean, you can talk a lot bad about Steelback.
If you take that and add in giving enough power to Daylor as a coach, you know, and what I think is a very good relationship between Daylor and Yellowstar, and that's the recipe for success.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Well, someone's reminded me that we went far off point, but actually I don't think so because we are talking in general about talent scouting. But of course we talked about too much about the orgs, but okay, we're here to talk, and I hope you guys are listening still right now. And I think we should come to an end.
You might have to split this into 2 parts.
Yeah, I think I would do this. I'll get the time where John leaves, and then we do the podcast featuring John and the one without John. So Or
Yeah, well, that's the thing. If you get me going, I'll just
Damn.
Oh
go
yeah,
and
of
go.
course. We're all passionate people.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna talk a little bit. Come
we are
on.
3 guys just sharing the passion for esports and having a good time. Well,
It's just something that my wife, because I'm married,
oh,
now
damn.
asks me, do you still like, League of Legends? Yes, yes, of course I still
Yeah,
like
well,
League of Legends.
I do it for a job, man. Like,
Yeah, but I mean, you're doing it, so much, and you still
Oh,
like
yeah.
it. Yeah, I still like it. I mean, do you like your things? Do you like Zuma?
But that's the thing. I have the same thing with my girlfriend. She always asks me, "How can you like something that much?" Like, I mean, if I would choose something in life, I probably not going into esports. But I don't know how I just took a tryout at a writing position, and I loved that so much. That you can see here, I'm here talking with you 2 guys about League of Legends and esports in general for about almost 3 hours. And if that's not passion and fun,
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think any of us got bored of the discussion because no, I mean, these are interesting things,
Yeah.
and especially when you're so involved and you like everything about League of Legends and League of Legends is such an organic thing that grows and it changes. It's like a shapeshifter.
yeah,
No.
like the esports years. I mean, we are talking from
Yeah.
things that happened in the past, and that if you would put this in history, you could think that was a year ago, maybe 2 years, but we're talking about half a year's time spans, and or even less, and it
Yeah.
sounds like ages. And that's the thing about esports. We're still in a growing industry, and
No, the first time I came into contact with this esports scene was a lot of years ago, and back then it was Brood War,
yeah.
StarCraft, the first StarCraft, Brood
Yeah.
War, and Quake. People were having Quake tournaments, Quake 2 and all that, and then it came Counter Strike, and I mean, and now we have League of Legends, which has a fan base that is bigger than the population of France. So
yeah, that's
that's nice.
That has something to say about it. And
No, I
before,
mean, just
before
me
we
showing
drift too
showing
far
friends.
off
Sorry,
again.
sorry for sorry to interrupt. Just this thing. No, just me showing friends that don't know anything about esports, showing them the last year's World Championship final and the whole stadium with all these crazy people out there, and they were like, "Whoa, is this for real? Are those people just sitting
Yeah.
there and watching, people playing a video game?" And I said, "Yeah." I mean, then they're actually amazed because they don't have that concept in their heads. I mean, they're used to
Yeah.
people going to a stadium to
watch
watch
football.
people playing soccer, pushing a ball around the field.
And we're pushing mouses and clicks
Yeah,
on the keyboard.
exactly. It's the same thing in the end.
Yeah.
There's not much difference.
All right, Dylan.
The same dedication.
You have the right choices. We both did to share your passion about esports,
Yeah.
so we can
Oh.
close out. Oh, okay. I should. I see this is going to be long now. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm very passionate. That's about all I
And-
have to say.
Well, now I feel bad because I talk so much.
Hey man, it's alright.
Yeah.
Well, it's been fun, guys. First of all, do you have any shout-outs left before I close out the show? Dylan, you can start because Daniel had his turn already.
I don't know. I guess inspiration wise, shout out to people like Kelsey Moser, Frosker, and even Richard Lewis. I've talked with them. I've had them critique my work in the past, and it's been a pleasure to get feedback and words of inspiration from these figures, and it's helped me pursue the path that I want to in esports. So shout out to them and their amazing personalities and ability to stay strong in esports.
Daniel.
Yeah. Well, I mean, shout outs. I would give a shout out to Ryan.
Tang.
Ryan Tang, who's
Yeah.
he's the site owner for Goal Per 10. That's where I started, say, my career. I mean, and then I stopped writing for Goal Per 10, so sorry about that, Ryan. But that's where everything started for me.
That's true.
And shout out for my guys in LAS. I hope we win this split. That's the goal in the end. And to you guys, for being here and having this great conversation I really enjoyed it, and hopefully we'll talk again about
That's
League of Legends.
That's
Yeah, man.
that feels so good. So thanks you do, and of course also to John that is not here with us
Yeah.
anymore. He had to go do more important stuff than just talk about esports. Yeah, they're hard for John. Well, thank you guys for watching. If you watched the whole thing, I love you.
Oh yeah,
Like
if anybody
Super
watches the
troopers.
whole thing, man, you have my gratitude. You know.
you can,
Oh, yeah.
if you do this, send me a screenshot on Skype, and
Yeah, but I mean that's easy.
and we well okay do a video watching.
Yeah, so you'll have to watch the entire video of him watching our video. So, yeah, that's cool. I mean, I've heard crazier things in this world.
Well, also thanks again to everyone else involved, like Ryan that brought us together, Daniel.
Oh, yeah.
Indirectly.
That's what I'm saying. I mean,
Yeah.
I think Ryan is actually one of the guys that doesn't get enough praise.
Attention.
I think he should get a lot of praise,
Yeah.
because the whole goal per 10 idea
It's really
is great.
awesome. Yep.
It's awesome. It gets people doing a thing without having to go through many phases in
trials.
starting a career. I mean, that's the place where you can actually start having a career.
Yeah.
In esports, not only League of Legends. I mean, you can
Right,
you
for
can start
anything
a
else.
career there in every esport available, and yeah, he's doing a great job, and that's why I love him. I love you, Ryan.
So I think we should get him as a guest next time.
Oh, definitely.
All right, guys. So I'm gonna close this out here. So if you like the video, share it. We are all about passion of esports and we're willing to show people our passion. So share it as much as you like, and of course give us a feedback. Since this is the second show I made for this show, I'm still learning. I'm not the best host already. And I'm willing to learn as well, so share your thoughts and feedback in the comments down below. Also, you can message us all on Twitter if you want to share or keep in touch with our work. And of course, guys, thanks for watching. Bye bye. Adios, amigos. We see us on next time.
Bye bye.